Donald Trump, businessman, real estate mogul, television personality, and current President of the United States. His name has graced luxury hotels, skyscrapers, golf courses, casinos, and primetime TV. His net worth has been estimated in the billions of dollars. But he wasn't always one of the most recognized men on the planet. Before the cameras, before the buildings that bore his name, before politics, there was simply a boy named Donald. And his story began far from the glow of Manhattan.
Today on Archivo Capital, we're going to show you
Donald John Trump was born on June 14, 1946, in Queens, New York. He was the fourth of 5 children. His father, Fred Trump, was a highly successful builder and real estate investor. His mother, Mary Ann MacLeod Trump, had emigrated from Scotland years earlier, chasing the promise of a better life. While most kids grew up watching cartoons, Donald grew up watching blueprints, construction crews, and buildings rising from the ground. Around the family dinner table, the conversation revolved around investments, properties, and business opportunities. Fred Trump wasn't in the business of putting up massive skyscrapers. His specialty was middle-class housing across Brooklyn and Queens. Over the years, he built tens of thousands of apartments, and in the process, turned his firm into an extraordinarily profitable enterprise. Donald watched it all. Every trip to a job site was a lesson in business. Still, Donald was no easy child. He was competitive, impulsive, and constantly pushing back against authority. When he was 13, his father made a decision. He sent him to the New York Military Academy. There, he would learn discipline, order, and leadership. Over time, he began to stand out, leading teams, competing in sports, and developing the sharp, competitive edge that would define him for the rest of his life. After graduation, he first enrolled at Fordham University, but 2 years later, he transferred to the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, one of the nation's most prestigious institutions for business and finance. While his classmates were chasing job offers, Donald already had a very different goal. He didn't want to work for someone else's company. He wanted to build his own. Tagging along with his father to construction sites, reviewing budgets, and sitting in on meetings with bankers, he grasped a fundamental tool of the trade: financing. Major buildings are almost never funded by the owner's money alone. They're financed through loans and outside investor capital. From an early age, Donald understood the concept of leverage, a tool that could multiply the size of an investment but also dramatically increase the risk. By the early 1970s, Donald made a decision that would change the course of his life. While the family business remained anchored in middle-class housing, he wanted something far bigger. His target was Manhattan. The city was in the middle of a severe financial crisis, and few investors were willing to put their money on the line there. Donald, on the other hand, saw opportunity where everyone else saw problems. Soon, he would find the project that would change his career forever: an old hotel called the Commodore, a nearly abandoned building that most people considered impossible to save. But Donald had a plan. He knew how to pitch investors, negotiate with banks, and line up the financing needed to transform that crumbling property into one of the most talked-about hotels in New York. That deal would mark the true beginning of his real estate empire, and the start of a story that, for decades, would put his name on some of the most famous buildings in the world.
For Donald Trump, the Commodore Hotel was never just an aging building on 42nd Street. It was his shot at proving he could play in the big leagues of Manhattan real estate. The problem? He didn't have anywhere near the kind of money it would take to buy the property and rebuild it on his own. Most people would have walked away right there. But Donald thought differently. Instead of asking himself, how do I come up with hundreds of millions of dollars, he asked, how do I get other people to fund this project for me? And that single shift in mindset would end up changing his life forever. Trump started working the phones, not just with the banks. He went after private investors, and he sat down with the city of New York itself. He walked away with a landmark tax abatement that finally made the renovation financially viable. Meanwhile, the banks agreed to finance the bulk of the project, because they believed that once the hotel reopened, it would be worth far more than the cost of building it. That deal became one of the earliest textbook examples of financial leverage in Donald Trump's career. He wasn't just using his own money, he was using other people's capital to develop an asset that, if everything went according to plan, would be worth far more than the debt behind it.
In 1980,
After years of construction and negotiation, the old Commodore reopened its doors as the Grand Hyatt, New York. The project was a hit. It didn't just generate revenue, it turned Donald Trump into one of the most talked about young real estate developers in New York City. Suddenly, the banks knew his name. So did the investors, and getting financing started to become a whole lot easier. Because in the world of finance, trust is worth a fortune. With that reputation behind him, Trump started chasing bigger and bigger projects. He wasn't thinking about a single building anymore. He was thinking about building a brand. Every new project added value to the Trump organization, a company that was slowly but surely becoming the beating heart of everything he did. One of his most ambitious plays came just a few years later. Trump Tower, a luxury skyscraper rising above Fifth Avenue in the heart of Manhattan. Putting up a building on that scale would take hundreds of millions of dollars, and once again, Donald turned to financing. He negotiated loans, he courted investors, and he structured the entire project so it could pay for itself through future sales and rental income. It was an enormous risk, but if it worked, the returns would be extraordinary. In 1983, Trump Tower officially opened its doors. The building quickly became one of the most recognizable landmarks in New York City. Luxury apartments, high-end offices, exclusive retail on the ground floor. Every square foot carried the Trump name. And the more his brand grew, the easier it became to secure new loans for the next project. That's one of the core principles of business finance. Banks don't just look at how much money you have, they look at your track record, your assets, and your proven ability to deliver profitable projects. Throughout the 1980s, Trump hit the accelerator. He bought hotels, he put up new buildings, he moved into casinos, he picked up golf courses, and he backed a long list of real estate developments across the country. Many of those deals were only possible because he had access to credit. His strategy was simple: use debt to control assets far larger than the capital he was personally putting in. When the projects worked, the upside could be enormous. But that strategy came with a serious downside. If revenue slowed, the debt didn't go anywhere. And the more leverage he took on, the bigger the risk on the other side. For several years, it looked like everything was working perfectly. Trump was seen as one of the most successful businessmen in America. His name was on the cover of every business magazine. His fortune kept climbing. But markets shift. Economies turn. And when a company is built on massive amounts of debt, any downturn can quickly become a full-blown crisis. Without realizing it, Donald Trump was about to walk straight into the toughest chapter of his entire financial career. The very same leverage that helped Donald Trump build an empire would also put everything he had built at risk. Over the next few minutes, we'll see how he went from being one of the most admired businessmen in the country to staring down billions of dollars in debt, and how he kept his story from ending right there. During the 1980s, Donald Trump seemed unstoppable. His name was on hotels, on buildings, on casinos, on golf courses, and on real estate developments all across the United States.
But behind that rapid growth,
there was something few people ever saw: a staggering amount of debt.
for years,
Borrowed money had been the engine driving his expansion. As long as property values kept climbing, everything worked. But in business, markets don't always move up, and when the downturn finally hit, everything changed.
in the early 1990s,
The real estate market began to weaken. Interest rates climbed. Many projects stopped generating the cash flow they were supposed to, and several properties lost significant value.
suddenly,
The very debt that had allowed him to build an empire started turning into a massive financial burden. Trump owed billions of dollars. Many analysts believed his career was finished. One of the most well-known cases played out in Atlantic City. Trump had poured enormous amounts of money into a series of casinos. Among them, the famous Trump Taj Mahal. The project had been financed with massive loans. But revenue never came close to the original projections. The debt piled up fast, and the business quickly ran into serious trouble.
That's when the financial restructurings began.
Many people say Donald Trump went bankrupt 6 times. But there's an important detail that rarely gets explained.
It wasn't Donald Trump, as an individual,
Who filed for bankruptcy. It was several of his companies that used the legal reorganization process available under U.S. bankruptcy law. Those proceedings allowed them to renegotiate debt, extend payment terms, and restructure the business in order to keep it running. In other words, the companies were trying to reorganize and stay open, instead of shutting down for good. During those negotiations, the banks were facing a difficult choice. They could force a liquidation of the assets, or they could restructure the debt. In most cases, they chose to renegotiate, because a finished operating building was worth far more than an abandoned project. Loans were modified, deadlines were extended, and certain terms were reworked. Trump managed to hold on to a significant portion of his assets while reorganizing his companies. That experience left behind a powerful lesson. Leverage can accelerate growth, but it also multiplies risk. When a business becomes too dependent on debt, a single downturn can put years of work in jeopardy. Donald Trump learned that lesson the hard way, but he didn't walk away from business. Just the opposite. He decided to rebuild. In the years that followed, Trump began focusing on a different kind of deal. Instead of financing every project entirely with his own capital, he started leaning more heavily on licensing agreements. In many cases, other investors would develop the hotels or the buildings, and they paid for the right to use the Trump brand. That allowed him to generate income with far less direct investment on certain projects. His last name was becoming a business asset in its own right. At the same time, Donald Trump was becoming an increasingly prominent figure in the media. He wrote books about business, he gave interviews, and he started building a personal brand that reached far beyond real estate. He was no longer just a developer, he was a business celebrity, and that visibility would open the door to an opportunity no one saw coming. An opportunity that would rebuild his fortune once again and make his name known to millions of people around the world. After surviving one of the toughest chapters of his career, Donald Trump was about to reinvent himself all over again. This time, it wouldn't be because of a building, not a hotel, not a casino. it would be because of television. And that single decision would ultimately carry him, years later, all the way to the White House. From businessman to President of the United States. After surviving one of the toughest chapters of his financial career, Donald Trump came to a powerful realization. His greatest asset was no longer just his buildings, it was also his name. For decades, he had built a personal brand recognized across America. And in 2004, that brand made its way to television. That year, The Apprentice premiered, a show where aspiring entrepreneurs competed for a job inside one of Trump's companies. Every episode ended with a phrase that quickly became famous around the world. "You're fired." The show was a runaway hit. Millions of Americans tuned in every week, and Donald Trump was no longer known only in real estate circles. He had become an international celebrity. His image began appearing in commercials, interviews, books, and conferences. And his brand became even more valuable. Meanwhile, the Trump Organization kept expanding. The company started taking on projects all over the world: hotels, resorts, golf courses, luxury residential towers, along with licensing deals that allowed the Trump name to be used across a wide range of real estate developments. In many cases, the company no longer needed to build every project itself. Outside investors financed part of the development and paid for the right to use a brand that had spent decades building global recognition. It was another form of leverage. This time, not just financial, commercial as well. But in 2015, Donald Trump stunned the world once again. He announced his candidacy for President of the United States. Most analysts wrote him off. He wasn't the favorite in the polls. And yet, his campaign gained momentum at a remarkable pace. And in November of 2016, he was elected the 45th President of the United States. One of the most recognizable businessmen in the country was now running the largest economy on the planet. During his first term, Trump pushed policies focused on tax cuts, economic deregulation, and strengthening American industry. His decisions drew both strong support and sharp criticism. As is often the case with major political figures, his presidency was surrounded by constant debate. But regardless of where people stood, his influence on politics and the financial markets was enormous. After leaving the White House in 2021, many assumed his political career was over. Yet Donald Trump chose to run for president once again. And after an intense campaign, he won the 2024 election, returning to the White House as the 47th President of the United States. A comeback rarely seen in the political history of the country. Even as his political career continued, his fortune remained tied primarily to real estate, investments, golf properties, licensing deals, and business holdings. Although estimates shift constantly, driven by the value of his assets and changing market conditions, major financial publications have placed his net worth in the multi-billion-dollar range, a figure that rises and falls over time, particularly with the real estate market and the performance of the companies connected to his brand. The financial story of Donald Trump leaves behind several powerful lessons. The first, financing can accelerate the growth of a business as long as the project behind it is solid. The second, leverage also multiplies risk. Throughout his career, he built an empire using loans, investors, and complex financial deals. But he also faced crises that tested everything he had built. And the third, a strong personal brand can become one of the most valuable assets a company will ever own. Because over time, Donald Trump stopped selling only buildings. He also began selling trust in a brand recognized all over the world. The story of Donald Trump is not simply the story of a businessman. It is the story of someone who used financing to build ambitious projects. Someone who faced some of the most well-known financial crises in the business world, and who, in spite of them, managed to reinvent himself again and again. Whether or not you agree with his decisions, his journey reveals a truth that is hard to ignore. In business, capital matters. But knowing how to raise it, how to manage it, and how to bounce back when things fall apart can make the difference between disappearing or starting all over again. Because in the end, great fortunes are not built with money alone. They are built with vision, with strategy, and with the ability to rise again after every fall.